Okay, we're going to begin our post-race media availability here with our winning team. We have our team owner, Rick Hendrick, and the number 48 Lowe's Chevrolet goes to victory lane for the 76th time in his career. Jimmy Johnson wins a NASCAR Sprint Cup Series race. That ties him with Dale Earnhardt for 7th on the all-time series wins list. And Rick, I know that very, very proud of Jimmy's effort today, but had to be proud of the Hendrick Motorsports group that showed some real strength out there today. Just talk about how you thought things went for Jimmy's team and also your entire team.
Well, it was a great day. They kept making Jimmy's car better, and Chad made a really nice call at a short pit him at the end. And we thought a lot of guys would come, and we thought maybe Kevin would be able to run him down, but evidently he used up his stuff, and don't know really what happened there. But it was – then I thought we had to race, and then the caution came out, and it was a good restart for Jimmy, and Dale did an awesome job. We're real proud of Chase. He drove one of the smartest races. The car was really good all day. He drove it from the back up to 6th, and he was battling guys like Brad and Kyle and guys like that all day. It showed a lot of maturity, and Alan gave him a good piece. So all in all, it was a great day. We missed it with the 5 car, and we hate that, but on to Vegas.
We'll take questions now for Rick. We also have Chad Knaus coming up, but we'll go ahead and start with a question for Rick Hendrick. We'll start here with Kenny Bruce. Come on up, Chad.
Kenny Bruce with NASCAR.com. Rick, are you ever not impressed with something that Jimmy does?
I told somebody out there I'm glad I don't have to race against him. And these two guys, Chad and Jimmy, I love to listen to them, how they strategize and how Jimmy gives Chad feedback, and then the decisions Chad makes. And Jimmy, I think I am so glad we got this new package, because I think this is right in Jimmy's wheelhouse. So real excited about that.
Let's hear right now also from crew chief Chad Knaus. Chad, congratulations on this win here today. It was certainly very deserving, hard-fought win, a lot of strategy. Obviously a big call there on that pit stop. But talk about just the fact that the 48 cars won 76 times now in the Sprint Cup Series. That's almost mind-boggling. But just talk about this win here today and the significance of it.
Wow, I mean it's so many levels. It's pretty amazing. When we started this thing back in 2002, I never would have thought that we'd be here today with 76 victories as a team. It's pretty impressive, and it's an honor to have been able to do it. You know, we've done it with a lot of great people, obviously, with various team members. Some still with us, some not. You know, obviously an amazing owner and a great group at Hendrick Motorsports, but you know, probably one of the biggest ones is Lowe's. You know, hanging with us and contributing to our efforts, you know, year in and year out. So it's God, it's amazing. Man, Jimmy's pretty awesome, isn't he? I mean, let's be honest. He's just a heck of a race car driver. He's a lot of fun for me to work with. You know, today was great. You know, we were able to get out there and raced our way up to the top 4 or 5, I think it was, and just kind of managed that position all day long, waiting till the end. I don't think we necessarily had anything for the 4 in the 78. We were a little bit better than the 78 in one corner and a little bit better than the 4 in another corner, but we weren't better than either of them in both corners. So we were really just kind of stuck in third. So we needed to try to figure out a way to get to the front and get the lead, obviously. Through those pit cycles, through the middle portion of the race, we were really monitoring what everybody was doing and at our tire wear and what everybody else's tire wear was and what people were thinking about doing. And you know, you could just see it. Around 40 laps, everybody wanted to pit and everybody was getting nervous about their tires. As we were going through the race, ours was getting better. So we were like, shoot, let's go ahead and throw it out there and see what happens. And it gave everybody an opportunity to come down pit road with us at that point, and it would have been kind of a moot point. But they were all nervous, I think, obviously, and didn't want to get tires on that early. And, you know, it worked out. After the pit cycle, I think we had a 10-second lead, maybe an 11-second lead, and we just needed to try to manage that throughout the rest of the race. And fortunately, that dang caution came out. But the guys had a great pit stop. We got out there, and Jimmy had a heck of a restart and was able to bring it home.
We'll take questions now. We'll go here with Nate. Right here, please, Nate Ryan, and then Bob Pockris. Over here to Jonathan.
Nate Ryan, NBC Sports. I have one for Chad, one for Rick. Chad, you told Jimmy no burnout. What was the reason for that?
Man, did you see what happened to the 18 on Friday? I'm not taking any chances right now. I don't want anything bent or broken or anything to warrant any type of problem right there. So we're just, until we understand exactly what's going on with all the post-race measuring, which, I mean, it's a pretty big deal. You know, we don't know how all this, we don't know what these cars do during a race, especially at a racetrack like this where there's a bunch of bouncing and moving and so on and so forth, that you just, pit stops, you know, just there's a lot of wear and tear on these race cars throughout the course of an event. And I just didn't want to take a chance on him tearing something up, doing a burnout, and not passing post-race LIS. So we just have to, yeah, that's why.
Gotcha. And Rick, I know you told us before the race that everybody's being gentlemen about the news this week with Stuart Haas, and everybody understands the dynamics, but you outwitted a Stuart Haas car today for the victory. Does that mean anything more?
You know, I want to beat them every week. You know, it's not just since they made the announcement, but no, I still like to see our stuff run well for the rest of this year. And I think, what do we have, 4 or 5 in the top 6 with our motors and chassis. So, but, you know, I like to beat them every week. And but we've been buddies for a long time. And like I told you earlier, you know, life goes on, and we'll focus on our stuff, and we still have a relationship with them with the equipment, so they're still a sponsor, and I'll pull for them till they put that oval on the hood. So.
Let's go to Bob, and then over here to Jonathan.
Bob Pockris, ESPN. Rick, obviously a big day with the 76 wins for Jimmy, tying Dale Sr. When did you think that 76 wins would be possible for Jimmy Johnson?
You know, Bob, I never thought when I got into sport I'd win 76 wins with anybody all together. And to have Jeff do it and have Jimmy tie him, I really wasn't aware of that today until the end of the race. And I think when you look at Jimmy's career and you look at how quick he's gotten to 76, and he's got 6 championships, I think you've got to say that he's one of the best that's ever been in the sport. And you know, it means a lot to him and a lot to all of us. We're all big Earnhardt fans. But it's going to be interesting to see how many races and championships Jimmy and Chad can win.
Let's go over here to Jonathan. Go ahead.
Rick, to your left. Jonathan Ingram from the Sports Exchange.
Hey, John.
Rick, we're all familiar with the story of you seeing Jeff Gordon for the first time, or taking notice of him for the first time here in Atlanta, hanging the car out in the Busch Series race. Do you recall your first impression of the first time you saw Jimmy Johnson race, and what your impression was? Then I have a follow-up.
You know, the first time I saw Jimmy race was in the stadium trucks, and Herb Fischel told me about Jimmy when he was 15, and then I helped him get in a late model car when he was 16, and then watched him. I think the most impressive thing about Jimmy, a lot like what I saw Chase do at Darlington. My son was racing at Darlington, and Jimmy was top of the board in the Busch Series. And so Jeff Gordon and I walked over to Jimmy and said, can Ricky come over here and talk to you? And Jimmy said, it's the first time I've ever been here. And so he was very impressive when I saw him in that situation. And I've known him so long, it was just his character, the kind of guy he was, watching him drive stuff out of control. You know, I think just watching him at Darlington that day really impressed me. I happened to be there for the practice. And Chase impressed me today about as much as I've ever seen a young driver drive in a race with a low downforce car that he's never been able to experience in a race before, when he's having to race Kyle Busch and the guys he was racing, Brad, and all day long, never make a mistake, just as cool on the radio as any seasoned driver, get great feedback. I am really excited about that young man in the future.
Rick, and to follow up, you were not always an Earnhardt fan, particularly during the Bodine years. Did your impressions of what he was doing for the sport change over time?
Well, he used to use me for a raise every time his contract was coming up. He would come talk to me, and Childress would give him more money. And I always told him he ought to pay me a part of the increase. But we were really good friends. And but, man, I told Bodine one day, I said, you know, if you see a snake on the ground, you either step on his head, you don't pick him up and shake him and turn him loose, because, you know, the movie Days of Thunder was a real deal. Richard and I were in that deal with Bill France, because they wrecked each other about every week, and I always got the short end of the stick. But no, back in those days, you know, it was a fierce battle. But after that, you know, before and after, it was good.
Any questions in the press box? No questions. Let's come back here. Jerry, you have a question, and we'll go to Bob. And then we'll take two over here. Go ahead.
Chad, Jerry Jordan, PRN, and Kicking the Tires. When we hit 100 laps with no caution and then 200 laps with no caution, what was going through your mind, and did that play any effect strategy-wise or cause you any issues?
You know, this is the type of racetrack, honestly, that you see a lot of long green flag runs, because the tire wear is so high that the drivers are just trying to stay away from everybody and just stay in control. So I wasn't really shocked that we came out of the gate with a couple of long green flag runs at that point. I was a little surprised how quickly people were willing to short pit and not wait for a failure. That showed a lot of maturity, I think, throughout the whole garage area. Nobody wanted to take a risk and have a situation to where they created a big caution or had a tire come apart, which is different than what we've seen in the past. Typically, people go and go and go until they do have a tire failure, and then we just it just becomes habitual after that, right? But it wasn't unexpected by any stretch.
Let's take two over here on the side, and then we'll be done. I'm sorry, Bob Pockris, and we'll take Stan and finish with the gentleman in the back. Go ahead.
Bob Pockris, ESPN. Chad, you talked about, you know, making the choice to pit. Were you pretty confident of the win at that point? Are you like, I got Jimmy Johnson, and he's going to wheel it and win this thing and take care of the tires? Or did you feel it was a pretty big gamble?
It was a gamble, for sure. We hadn't gone that far yet on a set of tires, so we wanted to... We were trying to figure out what to do. We were chatting about it, myself and my engineers, you know, who do a great job. And we could have easily just hung out and finished third, but we weren't going to pass those guys. So we had to do something. So it was just a matter of how early to pit, because if we didn't pit early enough, if we only pitted just a couple laps earlier than everybody else, it would have pulled the rest of them down with us. So we had to make it to where we did it to where they were uncomfortable and not willing maybe to take that risk. So yeah, I mean, it was. We felt confident that once we got out there and once the four started to get into some traffic and we were monitoring his lap times, that we kind of had it at that point. If it went green, which it didn't. So.
Final two. Stan, go ahead, and then the gentleman in the back.
Stan Creekmore with RPMTonight.com. Rick, this is for you, sir. A lot of young race fans nowadays don't understand the challenges of a race like this and how exciting it truly is. What would you say to a fan who said, what was it that was exciting about that race all day long?
Well, I think the real fans that understand strategy and guys short pitting and guys, you know, getting new tires and running to the front and then falling off. And I think if we'd had some cautions, the fans would have gotten a heck of a show. But you know, we didn't get a lot of cautions. You see at the restarts, you can run three abreast here, three wide, and if we'd had our normal caution deal, I think it would have been more exciting. But it's still, I love this type of racing because it's kind of putting it back in the hands of the drivers, and you know, guys have got to manage their tires. They've got to be smart. Crew chief's got to make the right call, and you know, I think this will be the best racing we've seen in a long time.
Final question, far right corner. Go ahead.
Jacob Seelman, 3 Wide Life and Race Chaser Online. I've got one for each of you, actually. Chad, how soon before you guys made the call to come down with 49 to go, how soon did you know that you were going to short pit and make the call you did to try to win the race?
About a lap before that, honestly. It was, yeah, really. Like we were chatting about it. One of my engineers said, I think it was Julian Pena. I think he said something. If we're going to go for the win, we need to try to do it now. And I looked down at the monitor, saw where they were at, saw the lap count, saw that we had 49 laps to go, knew that everybody was pitting at 40 laps, and I was like, well, we'll see how crazy these guys are and if they're comfortable making this type of call. And they weren't. So it worked out. But yeah, it happens that quick, man. Like it happens really, really quick. Like I say, we were right there behind those guys, but we weren't going to pass them. So I think we saw that it was just difficult to pass those guys. They were super fast.
Rick, you got to see Dale Sr. race, and then you've gotten to see the last 13, 14 years Jimmy Johnson become the driver he is. What similarities, or how do you compare the way the two of them drove in the Cup Series over the course of their careers?
You know, I think Dale was more aggressive. He got that. He didn't get that intimidator title by being nice to everybody. If he got to you, he'd move you, and that was, I think he intimidated a lot of people, and he was a heck of a race car driver. He could do things that I didn't see a lot of people do. The one thing about Jimmy Johnson, he doesn't put a fender on anybody. He does it clean, and he races. He gives people, if they're faster, he lets them go, and he treats everybody with a lot of respect. They're two different style drivers, but both of them were awesome. I mean, Dale won 7 championships, so that speaks for itself. But I think Jimmy does it in a very, I'd say very professional way. Not professional, maybe that's not the right word. He's not as aggressive, and he will race you extremely clean. And not saying that Dale didn't do it, but if he got to you and it was for the win, he's going to move you, and that's his job. So I think that's the difference in the two.
Rick, Chad, congratulations on this win today, and guys, thanks for helping put on a great race out here today for the fans. Thank you.